So it says I'm live. Nice to see you, YouTube. Thanks for joining me again this week. It's Monday, May 4th, 2020. Wow, May the 4th, 2020. And as we all know, May the 4th is become a bit of a holiday for Star Wars geeks because it means May the 4th be with you. Ha ha ha. Anyways, that's May the 4th. Welcome. So today I'm showing off one of my pieces from a series of paintings that I did. It was called Mythological Meditations on the Feminine. And this one is of the goddess Athena. You may be wondering why she has a owl head. Well, the owl is probably the most well-known symbol for the goddess Athena. And because Athena was the goddess of wisdom, the symbol of the owl became synonymous with wisdom. So that's why you always see those cartoon owls are always wearing like one of those placards that you get from graduating high school or graduating college or whatever it is. And here she is. She's also standing with her her trident. One of the spears is a spear is one of her symbols as well. So I thought I'd paint her naked, paint her naked, holding her spear, completely unafraid, completely unabashed, completely just in her glory. She's standing pretty confidently, hand on hips. And we've also got this picture over here, which I'm not sure if it's the shield, and on the shield is Medusa. Now, many of you may have seen the movie called Clash of the Titans from 1981. It starred Harry Hamlin as Perseus, and it also had Medusa in it. Medusa, the mythology of Medusa is closely tied to the mythology of Athena as well. And you'll often see shields with the face of Medusa on them to frighten the foes of the Greeks, the Greek soldiers. So if you have any more questions about that, feel free to pop them in the chat box. I think there I see one other person there. If you're in here and you're watching, pop a question into the chat box, into the chat here, and I can pull some cards for you. I've got my famous Radiant Rider-Waite deck and some questions. Otherwise, I'll just pull some cards and see what the card wants to say. So I'll start with that. I'm going to shuffle the deck. Come on, my friend. I see you there. There's two people here. One of them is me. The other one is you. So just pop a question in. Unless you're just watching to make fun of me, which would be fine. I hope you enjoy it. So I'm just going to shuffle this one more time and then see which card needs to be addressed. And the card in question is, let's see here, it is the Chariot, and it was reversed. So that card is the Chariot. The Chariot is very emotional, very emotional. It's associated with the zodiac sign of Cancer. which happens to be my zodiac sign. So anytime I see this card, I always think of what's going on with myself. It's going to be telling me something about myself. Um, Now you notice the chariot. He's armored, and he's kind of sitting inside of a, a chariot, um, which is kind of reminiscent of the crab, Cancer, the crab, which is the zodiac sign. Is It's inside of its shell. So one of the typical uh, descriptors of a zodiac Cancer sign is that they are moody and they are closed off, which is pretty accurate. I can be very moody. I can be very closed off sometimes. Introverted, definitely. Um, Now, this card, when I pulled it, it came out reversed. So, anytime you have a reversal card, there's always something to be considered there. So for me, I had a meh day today. Today was just kind of one of those days where you're doing your work and there's just a sense of unease or a sense of something that just didn't feel right. So that might be why this card kind of came out this way. But other than that, the chariot, he is sitting there. He's got the two sphinxes. One is black, one is white. There's a sense of balance there, um, kind of balance between masculine and feminine. Um, and there's also, I mean, if you look at his chest plate there, he's got that square right over his heart, and that's the kind of a representation of cancers kind of guarding their hearts very very much. They tend to, as with all water signs, they tend to love deeply and strongly. And that's not to say other zodiac signs don't. But however, that is kind of like the main orientation of Cancerians and other water signs. So that's all I'll say about that card. Let me see what else we got here. I'm going to pull another card and see what happens. You know, I can't not talk about COVID-19. I'm sure I'll be talking about that at some point. I'm one of those people who doesn't like wearing masks. I see it. I see that kind of stuff happening in China, in communist China. Um, in 2003, everyone started wearing a mask over there because of the hype behind SARS and the hype behind H1N1. It's like every 10 years it's something, whether it's terrorism or it's financial destruction or it's pandemic. Every 10 years it seems like something's going on. Um, Kind of like a pattern, like a pattern. And in terms of mask, like how many more times do you need to be lied to by the box that sits on your television stand? How many lies you need to hear before you just stop believing them? That's what I think. Kind of heavy for a tarot gallery reading, but I'm basically just talking to myself right now, so it doesn't really matter. Um, all right, I'm going to pull another card. Let's see. The Hermit. The Hermit. I've been feeling a bit like a hermit a lot recently. Um, and the Hermit is standing on top of a mountain. He's gone through quite a bit of a climb. Getting to the top of a mountain is not an easy task, particularly for such an old guy like that. He's at the top. He's got um, his walking stick in his hand, which kind of represents his will, and he's shining his light. He's shining his light, hoping that someone will see it. Hoping that someone will see it. Um, and the Hermit is the number 9 card in the major arcana. The next number after that is 10, and numerologically, it's like the last number, because the next number, which is 10, numerologically, you would combine those two numbers, the 1 and the 0, and that brings you back to 1. So this is an ending card, the card of endings. It's a card of mental brilliance. It's associated with the zodiac sign of Virgo, and Virgo is the doer, is the order maker, is the project manager, the person able to get things done, the person able to keep track of things. They're a bit of a perfectionist. So these are some of the themes that you would be exploring in a reading with me. Be talking about, well, is there some kind of knowledge that you're kind of holding to yourself, hoping someone will notice, but realizing there's probably a different way to communicate it. So that's the Hermit, and I think we've all been feeling a bit like hermits recently. This whole lockdown, government lockdown, which doesn't make sense that Walmart and Target and all of these places, big corporate places, can stay open, but a local restaurant or a local barber shop or a local store can't open. It's thrusting people into economic catastrophe. Most people don't understand that the entire economy, well over 50% of the economy is driven by small businesses. And now we've got states that are closed for small businesses. So that's not right. That's not right. And especially that we've got here in Connecticut, we've got a group of people advising the governor who don't own small businesses. They don't live in Connecticut. They work for global corporations. They don't live in Connecticut. Or maybe they do. I don't know. But the point is, closing down the ability for people to bring in money for their family. It's got to stop. And in terms of COVID, I don't know. I don't remember it being a death sentence until Cuomo said that, oh, if you go out and get COVID, you're dead, or you're going to kill me. I don't know. I'm just ranting. None of this makes sense anymore. The stuff that I see on television, I don't believe anymore. I understand that there's an agenda. I understand that there's a spin. I understand that there's something else going on. Too many things happen coincidentally for it to be a coincidence anymore. But that's just me playing with my conspiratorial mind, which I don't think many people appreciate. Because the conspiratorial mind is one that is accessing part of the shadow. It's recognizing the shadow aspect of ourselves. It's understanding that people don't necessarily act in the interest of the many, and actually act purely in self-interest. Purely in self-interest. There's gradations of acting in a way that will help you that can also help others. And I think that's the justification for a lot of the corruption that and back end deals that are happening in the halls of power, where you've got lobbyists and friends of friends giving jobs to friends of friends, and what's that term called, where someone has a high up position and they give a job to the nephew of their best friend. What's that called? I forget the term of that word, but you know what I'm talking about. Or no, you don't, because you're not even there. I'm just talking to myself. All right, let's pull another card. Let's see what the deck has to tell us now. King of Pentacles reversed. Let's flip them back the right way. There's the King of Pentacles. He is sitting in his throne. He's sitting in his garden. He's got his power in his hand, in his left hand, and he's got his coin in the other. He's pretty stable, but he's young, so he's not entirely directed at this point, perhaps. If you notice, he's got, where is that? He's got a couple of bulls there on his throne. He's got a bulb on each side of his head. The pentacles have to do with the earth, with earth signs, and this one in particular is referring to Taurus. Taurus is an earth sign. So when you see bulls and stuff like that, you're talking about Taurus, the bull, which personality-wise is very determined, very kind of set in their ways. Change is not an easy thing for a Taurus to deal with, but they are persistent in the things that they want to achieve or accomplish. So, if something like that is required of a Taurus, they will succeed because they want to. They're very good with money. They're very comfortable people, meaning they enjoy comfort. They enjoy the finer things in life, but they don't overdo it because they know that it's always smart to save for a rainy day, because as we just experience, rainy days come at random times. And sometimes that rainy day can last for 2 months on lockdown. So, but even now, a King of Pentacles, a Taurus, is probably feeling the effects of all of this. So it's kind of time. It's time. COVID-19 is not a death sentence. You're not going to die if you get it. If you feel like you're going to die, or you immunocompromised, then take the proper precautions. But forcing other people to stay home because of a chance that you might get sick, take a chance every day. You might get sick every day. You might walk out your door and get hit by lightning. That's a risk we take every day. But this country was built on the concept of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And there's a lot of people right now who are not able to pursue their lives. They're not able to exercise their liberty, and they're not able to search for happiness because their means of making money is being denied. And it's not a matter of being selfish. It's got nothing to do with being selfish and wanting to kill people. That's the most asinine and weak argument that you can think of because there's no basis to it. So why don't we talk some more tarot, huh? All right, I got one more card to pull here. And it was the Seven of Wands. And let me flip it the right way so you can take a look at it. Seven of Wands. It's a fiery card. Wands has to do with fire, so it's a matter of defending your ground. There's the guy; he's got his staff up there, and there's 6 other staffs kind of trying to reach up and trying to knock him down. But he's defending himself. He's defending himself from maybe some things that most people say, "Oh, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't think like that, or you shouldn't try that." But he's up there. He's doing it, and he's going to win because he's got the high ground. As you know, any uh, battle tacticianers or strategists will tell you to go find the high ground, because if you can grab the high ground, then you can almost assure of your victory. So I guess this is representative of me maybe talking about COVID-19 and the need for the states to open back up. Probably catch a lot of grief for that, but I don't care. So looks like I have another visitor here. You want to pop a question into the chat box and I can pull a card for you. Otherwise, it's just me here talking to myself. So pop in a question. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep pulling cards and talk about what comes up. Nope, just an observer. You're just going to observe, huh? Feel free. Well, this is the painting that I was talking about earlier. It's a painting of Athena. She's naked because she's confident, and really could destroy anyone naked because she's a goddess, right? She's got an owl for her head, that represents her wisdom. Oh, I've got a note here. Hi, just popped on. I don't have a question yet, but thank you. Hi, Amy. How are you? Haven't seen you in forever. I see on your Instagram that you're all over the place, though. You've got an interesting Instagram feed, so thanks for sharing that. If you do have a question, just pop it in and I'll pull a card for you. All right, cool. Well, I'm just going to be sitting here talking, shuffling the deck and pulling cards and see what comes up. So I'm going to shuffle it one more time. Let's see here. I've got the card that I am looking for is coming up. I'm filling, there it is. It's the Three of Cups. So of course, cups has to do with emotions and feelings and nature. As you can see, it's 3 women and they're kind of dancing, kind of toasting each other. So this is a card of joy. This is a card of celebration. This is a card of coming together, sharing the positive aspects of your life, the positive aspects of yourself, sharing in the positivity of other people. If this card were to come up in a reading, I would immediately start talking about or start asking you to I guess I wouldn't be asking you to do anything. I would just bring up the themes of love, of celebration, of joyousness, of sharing, of creativity. These are all topics that are associated with this card. And there's growth. As you can see, they're dancing in a garden. Um, you've got three colors there: yellow, red, and white. And from an alchemical standpoint, the only color that's missing is black, which is the Negredo, which is kind of depression and sadness. And that color is not in this card. The other three colors in the alchemical process are there, but not in this card. So this is a super positive card. Um, Joyful, celebrating, creative, abundant, friends. These are all things to be thinking about. Close family celebrations. Um, so that's what that card is. So Amy, if you're still, yep, you're still here. I'm gonna pull a card for you. No questions. You don't have to respond to it. I'm just going to ask the deck to pull one card for Amy. What does Amy need to know? And I'm going to shuffle it 3 times because three is such a good number, isn't it? All right, what does Amy need to know? Let's see here. It's the death card. But don't worry, you don't have to worry about death. So I'm going to flip it this way. Usually the death card has to do with deep emotional transition, deep changes, deep understanding of yourself, and a deep understanding of the world. And it's a card of willpower. It's a card of determination, particularly around emotional aspects. And it was reversed when I pulled it. So you might be coming out of a realization about yourself, or maybe something new information or new understanding of yourself has recently kind of come to the fore. And anytime you have a reversal, there's always either a call to action or a warning at times. So it's something to think about. An understanding of yourself, maybe some recent things that you've learned about yourself, or a situation that you can now bring those things to light to help you in a situation you might be finding yourself in. So that's the card for you. Looks like I've got one other person in here. If you want to pop a question into the chat box, I can pull a card for you. Otherwise, I'm just pulling random cards and talking about what comes up. So Amy, yes, this is on point. Good. I'm glad that was on point. If you want to follow up, feel free to drop a question. If not, then you can just watch. Like I said, I'm just gonna keep on pulling cards, and this works better if there are people asking questions, but maybe not this time. That's fine. All right, one more card. This is just a random card. It's not for anyone in particular. So let's see here. Let's see. Oh, this card again. Earlier, I had pulled this card. The card is the Hermit. And what with COVID lockdown, I'm sure a lot of us have been feeling like hermits, maybe spending more time alone than normal, which can can drag on your nerves a little bit. Um, but it's also a time for introspection. And if you notice, he's kind of up there at the top of the mountain, and he's holding on to a light, and he's kind of somewhat reserved. He's kind of looking down and contemplating. So, particular like for me, this has been a huge time for contemplation and thinking, and kind of looking, taking stock of myself, taking stock of the world, and what kind of light I want to bring into the world going forward. So, I don't know if anyone else has had that type of thought process or or way of seeing things, but the hermit is bringing something, bringing something for others to see. So whoever's on this on the chat right now, um, maybe there's something that you've been trying to bring into the world, or an idea, or a concept that you've wanted to communicate to either someone, um, or bring an idea into fruition in terms of making money, or a new business idea. Um, so maybe the hermit is telling you to start making plans about that. It's I mentioned earlier in this video that the hermit is the number 9, which is kind of like the last number before you get to 10. And numerologically, you would take 10 and combine the 1 and the 0, which brings you back to 1. So the 9 is kind of like an ending. So it's like an ending of a way of thinking, an ending of a way of being, um, and looking to the future, looking to bring light into your life and bring light into the lives of others. So that's the hermit. Yes, so much alone time. It's good, but can also feel isolating, but also healing and necessary. Absolutely. Absolutely. One positive thing is that the weather is getting so freaking nice. This weekend was perfect, particularly Sunday. I was out for a hike up in Manchester, up in Case Mountain, and it was packed. It was packed. And people weren't worried about masks, which was great, in my opinion. I might catch some flack for that, but fine. I think I fear for I resonate all 3 cards. Yeah, good, good. 3 of Cups, Death, and Hermits. Good. I'm gonna pull another card, and yeah, take from it what you will. I've got 2 guests. I've got Amy on, and I've got one other person who chooses to remain anonymous, which is fine. But maybe this card can help you think through something. So this next card is the is the 6 of Wands reversed. So this is the way it came out of the deck. I'm going to flip it so that we can get a better look at it. The 6 of Wands is, I mean, take a look at him. He's riding on a horse. He's got a garland in his head. He's got a garland on his staff there. There's people surrounding him. It's kind of a card of adulation, um, people kind of cheering you on. It's a new sense of direction, a new sense of who you are and how you're going to be going forward in the future. But it was reversed. So I don't know. Maybe it's requiring maybe a little bit more ownership of how you're going to be moving going forward in the world. Maybe some clarity around that, or um, maybe you find yourself in a situation where people aren't necessarily praising you or giving you support. So it's kind of like, all right, well, if you're not getting that, then you got to do it for yourself. This is a card of determination, clear goals, clear statements, things of that nature. Clarity is probably a key word around that. Clarity of action, clarity of goals, clarity of communication. And it's one of harmony. 6 is the number of harmony on the Kabbalistic tree of life. So that's that. We'll pull another card. I'm going to ask a question. What should I ask? What's the best way that to find some happiness coming out of the lockdown? I mean, you can find happiness anywhere, but I'm talking about once everything opens up. So let's see. Best way to find some happiness when the state reopens. Let's see here. Hangman. Maybe it's telling us to climb a tree. Yeah, kind of looking at things differently. We've got normally the hanged man. He's not upset. He may be hanging upside down, but he doesn't look too upset. He actually looks kind of happy. There's a huge glow around his head, and he sees things from a different perspective. So I think it's telling us to look at things from a different perspective, particularly things that we just we just automatically label or automatically categorize into a certain part of our mind. But the hangman is telling us to look at things differently and to yeah to stick it out. There's no discouragement, because the hanging man is persistent. He's going to be hanging there for a while, and he's fine with it. So, new perspective, new way of looking at things. All 3 cards definitely need clarity in one direction. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, this COVID thing seems to be putting a damper on everything. But it's not a death sentence. That's what everyone seems to be thinking. It's like a death sentence. It's not. It's not a death sentence. So that's the way I see it. If I get it, then I'll deal with it. But being scared is not going to work. It's not going to work for me. Not going to work. So we'll see how that works out. I was out hiking yesterday, and I mentioned there was a lot of people out there. Not too many people were wearing masks, but in other places there were people wearing masks, and I didn't, and I got some very unhappy looks, to say the least. But I don't know. There's no right answers. I'm not being selfish, or maybe I am. I don't know. So let's pull one more card. Uno Mas card. What do I need to know? And what does Amy need to know if she's still on here? I'm not sure. All right. What do we need to know? The world. When it came out, it was reversed. But yeah, we're living in the world. There she is. She's kind of dancing. She's got all four. Those are the evangelicals. It's like Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, but it's also Leo, Taurus, Scorpio, and Aquarius. So she's kind of balanced between those four fixed signs of the zodiac. She's dancing. She's happy. She's kind of in the middle of her world, and that's not going to change. It's the center point. It's the still point, the happiness that you can find within inside yourself, no matter what else is happening around you. But it's a card of happiness. It's a card of satiety. I don't know that word. Satisfied, basically satisfaction, contentment, good feelings, fun places, fun times, these type of things. Pleasant surroundings, forests, trees. These are all things that are signified by the world. So I think that's what we needed to know, is just be happy and look at the things around us. Look at the beautiful sun, the beautiful wind, the trees, the animals, a lot of this stuff which we can take for granted. But it's important not to. So we've been getting a lot of major arcana cards, which is interesting. That usually means something. Exactly. Be happy regardless of the state of things. Find the happiness within inside you, and put a boundary between you and the world, so that as the world changes, as the world goes crazy sometimes, you'll still be you, and you'll have your boundaries set, and I'll have my boundaries set. I'm kind of talking to you, but I'm also talking to myself. So yeah, the world, that's a great card. It's a great card to pull. I'll tell you one thing. I'm looking forward to going to a restaurant or a bar and just grabbing a beer, a nice beer with a head on it. Yeah, that'll be good. That'll be good. It's about time, though. I think the weather is brightening up. There's no way they can keep it closed for much longer. Um, COVID's a virus, and like most of these viruses, they tend to die off as the summer comes. You don't have a lot of people getting sick with the flu in the summer because it doesn't really last that long in the summer. So I'm hoping COVID decides to go the way of the flu. All right, I'm going to pull one more card and we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it. What do you want to talk about, Mark? I don't know. Let's see what card we have here, huh? Oh boy, I'm getting loopy. I'm talking to myself here. I need a co-host. Keep the dead air from me. I've done this probably 3 times. And I am always talking to myself and telling myself, hey, Mark, you've got a lot of dead air going on here. So I got to find somehow to fill the air. Page of Wands. He's been showing up a lot for me recently. Page of Wands refers to new endeavors, new ways of thinking, new ways of doing things. Sometimes these cards represent people in our lives. In this case, it would be a younger female who's very fiery and very free-spirited, very fun-loving, fiery, passionate. So yeah, it's new things, new endeavors, new and fun things. I think this is probably one of the most fun cards out there, the Page of Wands, in terms of fun people and fun activities and fun, fiery type stuff. So, and there's a lightness to it. If you notice the feather in the cap, that's a sense of lightness, because the feathers are light. And he's standing there kind of in the desert near the mountains. So it's kind of, there's a sense of making your own environment, despite the environment being dry and maybe hot and whatnot. He's focusing on what he has and what he can do. So he's got his staff in his hand and he's focusing on that. Focus on what you can do. Focus on your own skills that you already have under your belt. So maybe that's the card for coming out of COVID, is what are the skills that you have that make you feel happy and light, and applying them to a new, I don't know, a new endeavor, and being light about it and making, yeah, this is a good card. It's an optimistic card. It's resourceful, it's resilient, and it's changeable. So very mutable, very movement oriented, reacting to things quickly and on the fly. We've got another guest, Cardinal Water. Hello, Cardinal Water. I'm also a Cardinal Water. That would make you a Cancer. So if you'd like a reading, you can pop a question into the chat there. Or I've just kind of been pulling cards at random and hoping that they have some resonance for the people who are watching and listening. So, yeah, you're Cancer. So if you got a question, pop it in. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep pulling a card and hopefully it has resonance for you. And we've got about 10 more minutes. So Amy, you too, if you've got one question that you want to put in Now's the time to do it. And you too, Cardinal Water. If you've got a question, pop it in. Otherwise, I'm just going to pull a card and I'm going to talk about it. And hopefully, it is, like I said, resonance for you and what's going on in your life. It probably is, because that's why tarot cards work, is because they are always pertinent to someone's situation. May I have a general read for the rest of 2020, please? Okay, I'll pull one card. A one card pull usually isn't sufficient enough to I guess, map out the whole year. There's some other types of spreads that are better suited for that, but I will pull a card and we'll see which card comes up. For Cardinal Water, who would like kind of a theme for the rest of 2020. Okay. All right. So, Cardinal Water, this one is for you. And it is the Queen of Pentacles. And the Queen of Pentacles is reversed. So I'm going to flip her over here so that you can see that. Let's see. The Queen of Pentacles is nurturing. Look at her. She's sitting in her throne and she's kind of nurturing that coin there, the pentacle. So let me move back a little bit. These cards, the Court Royal cards, sometimes represent people who show up in our lives. So if that's the case, then this person is very warm, very nurturing, very grounded, very beauty-minded, kind of appreciates some of the finer things in life. Maybe a gardener of some sorts, or good with animals. So if that person, if someone like that exists in your life, then that person might play a big role in your life going forward for 2020. But it could also be calling for you to be that type of person, where nurturing and grounded and slow to move, slow to anger, kind of being with the earth, spending time in nature, these type of things. So when I originally pulled the card, it was reversed. So that usually means like, not necessarily wild, but just like erratic, not grounded, not thinking clearly, just like, yeah, not acting in a calm and grounded manner. So whether that if that theme is in your life right now, then it's calling for a recognition of that, and making the changes that are possible to become more like the Queen of Pentacles. Whether that's you or your situation or the people around you, it's calling for that type of energy. So that's it for now. I've got another question here. Can I get a general for the rest of 2020, one card per month if possible? I'm only doing one card pulls during this weekly event. I do yearly readings as my side business. So if you're really interested in doing a one card per month, we can schedule that. You can just send me a message, go on my website, call. But for now, I will pull one card for you, ZK, um, for the rest of the year. We'll see what it says. So, what themes will be showing up for ZK for the rest of 2020? Or at least something to put your mind around. All right. And one more. What does it mean if the King and Queen of Swords show up together in a reading? It doesn't mean the same thing every time, so it would have to. It depends on the context. If the context was a relationship reading, then it would have to do with personalities in the relationship. If it showed up in a career reading, then that might have something to do with people at work. So I can't say what it means every time, and I haven't done a reading where that's happened, so it's hard for me to say. I can give you, okay. So let me finish with ZK. I've got a card for ZK, and then I'll refer back to Cardinal Water. There's a question there. So ZK, this was the card that came up for you, the King of Wands. I've mentioned this before earlier in this session. The Court Royal cards sometimes represent people in our lives. In this case, it would be a younger than 35 male who's very fiery, kind of athletic, passionate, on the go, constantly on the move, trying new things, doing this, doing that. If that resonates with you, if that person is in your life right now, or you're thinking of someone who kind of fits that profile, that person might have a big role for you for 2020 going forward. If you can't think of a person that kind of fits that mold, then this is calling for fieriness and action and movement and getting things done without not a lot of planning necessarily, just kind of going on the fly and trying things out, and getting feedback and understanding what's going to work and what's not going to work through experience. It's not a planning card. It's not a project manager card. It's more of a going out there and stirring the pot and seeing what happens. So let me see here. Yeah, I know who the card resonates. I'm thinking of him. We aren't close, but I want to get closer to him. Okay. So, well, then you know what to do if you're trying to get closer. Yeah, don't put yourself out there too far though. Put yourself in his orbit and see if he pays attention, I guess. That's kind of words to live by. Put yourself in someone's orbit, and if they keep looking, then go from there. Let me see. So what does it mean? I'm going back to Cardinal Water. You had a question. What does it mean if the King and Queen of Swords shows up together in a reading? And it was a general love reading. Well, let me go pull those two cards. The King and Queen of Swords. So there they are. The King and Queen of Swords. So if this were to show up in a love reading, I would be talking a lot about communication. There'd be a lot of communication that needs to happen, um, without a lot of subterfuge or innuendo, or it's very clear of speaking clearly, speaking honestly, and not beating around the bush. So when I see swords, I always immediately think of communication and talking. So in a general love reading, if these two showed up, then these two would be talking to each other. And in this case, the female, she seems to be making more of an effort. She's got her hands up. She's kind of looking towards the king. Um, yeah, it's definitely a card of communication and honesty. So I don't know if the theme of honesty is something that was in that general love reading, but I would be thinking a lot about communication and clear, honest, vocal, these type of things. So, well, it looks like my time is up. It's now 7:30. I thank you all for joining me. They also came up with the lovers. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Lovers is also a card of communication. So it's associated with Gemini, and there's and the 10 of Cups. Okay. Yeah. So love, communication, clear, honesty. Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. Thank you for joining me. Like I said, we'll be doing this every Monday night from 6:30 to 7:30. Uh, you can subscribe to my account, spread the word, and we'll see you next week, hopefully. But thanks for coming, and I hope you have a wonderful evening. Um, yeah, so that's it. Thanks.